I am excited. In this lesson we're going to finally use this trigonometry to find some measurements, this time finding a side. So let me give you a quick overview of the steps to doing that. The first ones we've learned from our last lesson. You're going to identify your angle of perspective. You should know how to do that. You're going to identify the given and the unknown side. So one of the sides is going to be given at least. Other sides will be unknown and you'll be finding those, but you need to see those labeled. Then you're going to choose your weapon. Are you going to do sine, cosine, or tangent to set up your equation? And remember your SOHCAHTOA rules. Now all three of these we did in the last lesson. So if you have that under your belt, all you got to do is add one more thing, and that is do the math. How do you solve it? You are going to do a cross multiply. Now you will need a calculator for this. A scientific calculator is key. Make sure your calculator has these three buttons of sine, cosine, and tangent. And one more thing to check for. Make sure that it is in degree mode. Look at the screen. If it says DEG, then you're good. If it has a little capital D, then you're good. If it has anything else, maybe RAD or GRAD or an R or a G, those are different modes for different kinds of angles that you'll learn in a different class. So be sure you're in the degree mode, and if you need help with that, see me, and that you have these sine, cosine, and tangent buttons on your calculator and you're ready to go. Let's do one of these. All right, so here's our first example. We're going to start by identifying our angle of perspective, and in this case it's the given angle of 72. You'll always use your given angle if you know it. So this is our angle of perspective. Now in step 2 we have to identify the given and the unknown sides. That's our x and our 29. I can see my angle of perspective is giving me that 29 is the opposite side, and x, of course, since it's right across from the right angle, that's the hypotenuse. All right, you ready to choose your weapon? Is this a sine, a cosine, or a tangent ratio? Well, we've got opposite with hypotenuse, so SOHCAHTOA is going to tell me right here that this is a sine question. So I'm going to set up that equation like we practiced in the last one. The sine of my angle. Now this time, watch, I'm going to put in the angle measure itself. The sine of 72 degrees, the angle, equals the fraction of opposite, which is 29, divided by the hypotenuse side, which is the x, the unknown. And so we've just set up an equation that's going to help us to figure out x. And we are on the last step. How do we solve this equation? We're going to do the cross multiply process. I hope you've seen that in a different class. You do this when you have fractions. So I'm going to start by putting my sine of 72 over 1 so that I can see it as a fraction. And then I cross multiply. That means I take the x from the bottom on this side and multiply it by the sine of 72. So it looks like this. X times the sine of 72. And you want to put that x in the front. Then I have an equals, and what I do for my second side is I come across this way and I have 1 times 29, and I put that result on this side. So the cross multiply step is to get rid of the fractions that we had. Now I need to isolate my x so that it's by itself. So I'm going to do the algebra for that. Since I'm multiplying by the sine of 72, I'll just divide by the sine of 72 to clear it out, and do it on the other side to make sure they match. And then, yeah, the ninjas come and wipe out the sine of 72 on that side. So we are done. We have x by itself. X is equal to 29 divided by the sine of 72, which is something I would do on a calculator. So let me pull out my calculator. So I'm going to type it in the calculator like this. I got 29 and divide it by the sine of 72, just like that. 30.49. Let me round that to 30.5. So x is about 30.5. Let's squiggly these equals. It's not equal. It's about 30.5. That's how you do it. Let's try another one. Okay, you already know the first couple of steps. You're going to identify your angle of perspective. It's your 50-degree angle. Let's look at these other sides. The given side is 23. Now what is that? Since it's across from the right angle, that's the hypotenuse. And the unknown side, the x, that's adjacent, connected to that angle of perspective. So which ratio? Choose which one you're going to use. SOHCAHTOA, you've got adjacent and hypotenuse. This is a cosine question. So we're going to set it up just like this. Cosine of the angle 50 is equal to the fraction where I put the adjacent, which was the x from the picture, over the hypotenuse of 23. And cross multiply to solve. Now let's put this over 1, make it look good like a fraction so we can see it. This time I'm going to take 23 across to multiply by the cosine of 50. And let that equal what I get when I take 1 across multiplied by x. Now these kind of problems are awesome because you'll notice x is by itself. We don't go through any other steps. We just go straight to the calculator now. So what would we get for x? All right, let's type it in. 23 multiplied by the cosine of 50. That gives us 14, about 14.8 if we round. You notice, look at that. I was ready to round it at the beginning. 14.8 if we're going to the nearest tenth. All right, nothing's changing here. We've just got another example. Find your angle of perspective, first step. Always look at the angle of perspective before you decide your labeled sides. Now the side that we are given is opposite the angle of perspective. And this side that we're looking for, which is x, that's our adjacent connected to the angle of perspective. So SOHCAHTOA is going to tell me to take opposite with adjacent. That's the TOA part. So this is a tangent question. Let's set it up. It's the tangent of 67 is the fraction. Now it's opposite first, then over adjacent. So it's 35 over x. All right, we're ready to cross multiply. Let's put this over 1. Let's bring the x across, multiplied by the tangent of 67. And let's bring the 1 up, multiply it by 35. That, of course, is 35. Is anybody impressed that I know 1 times 35 without my calculator? Thank you very much. All right, x isn't alone. We've got to go and divide off that tangent of 67. Here we go. Divide it on both sides. The tangent is 67 here too. Yo, get them out. And x is alone. 35 divided by the tangent of 67. All right, we've got this. 35 divided by the tangent of 67. And round that to the nearest tenth. It looks like it's 14, about 14.9. My calculator disappeared. All right, that's our x value. You can do this stuff. Next one. Where is our angle of perspective? It's the 32. So what does that make? Oh, did you even see this? I just saw this. We have two unknowns. Did you see this? How are we going to do this? Same thing. We're just going to identify our parts. We can do this. So x, y, and 22. That means the y across from there is our opposite, and the given is the adjacent, and our x is the hypotenuse. Now don't panic. Don't let this freak you out. You could find both of these. We're just going to do it in two different equations. Let's figure out x first. So we're going to need to use our given adjacent side along with our x, our hypotenuse. And that's a cosine ratio. That's a and h, so we're going to use a cosine ratio. So let's set it up with cosine of the 32-degree angle and make it equal the fraction 22 over x, adjacent over hypotenuse. All right, let's put this over a 1 and cross multiply. Bring that x up with the cosine of 32. And bring that 1 up, multiplied by 22. Next step, we got to get x by itself. So let's divide the cosine of 32 both sides. Going to cancel those. Okay, calculating this. 22 divided by the cosine of 32. 25.94. I don't even get to round it to 26. About 25.9. All right, now we're not done. We still have to figure out what y is, but we've got x. So let's do the same kind of thing for y. We've got our adjacent side. That's 22. We want to stick with that given. But let's join it up with the opposite side. Which ratio does the opposite with the adjacent side? Yep, you've said it. It's the tangent ratio. So we're going to go tangent of the 32-degree angle again is equal to the opposite, which is y, I almost did that wrong, over 22, the adjacent. Okay, this is going over 1, and here we go, cross multiply that. 22 comes up to join the tangent of 32. And over here, 1 times y is y. Calculator, 22 times the tangent of 32. What do we get for that? 13.7. You notice y was by itself, no division necessary. 13.7, it's about the y value. All right, see, we can solve the whole thing. Okay, time to learn a little vocab. You guys are going to see some word problems. Yes, I know, scary. And a lot of them are going to talk about angle of depression and angle of elevation, so you need to know what that means. Let's start with an angle of depression. Now, an angle of depression is this. It's an angle that's measured downward from a horizontal line. So if you're looking at a picture, you always have to have a horizontal line, and then you're measuring an angle going down from there. There's a direction to that. So it might be looking like this. This would be an angle of depression. Now, the difference between an angle of depression and an angle of elevation is that an angle of elevation is measured up. But notice, they both have the same relationship to the horizontal. They both start with a horizontal line, only this time this one's going to go upward from there. So they call that an angle of elevation because of that upward motion. But both are going to start from a horizontal line. And I think that that's probably the key to getting your pictures drawn right. You'll like my picture here. All right, let's read through this. Oh, it's love. With Valentine's Day approaching, SOHCAHTOA is literally on cloud 9, thinking about Pythagoras. Did I mention that they dated? They were married, you know. She gazes down, this is before they got married. She gazes down at him through a 22-degree angle of depression. How far is Pythagoras from the ladder to cloud 9? Let's draw this in. Okay, so her angle of depression, notice again, there's that new vocab word. It's an angle of depression, 22 degrees. That's from a horizontal line. So we got to come out horizontal. Okay, so we've got the horizontal line. What we need is to get the angle of depression down, and this is an angle of depression. Let's say, oh, she's looking at his shoes here. This is a 22-degree angle of depression. So how far is Pythagoras from cloud 9? Well, let's see. Let's just finish this triangle off, and the ladder can be the other side of it. So there's our triangle. There's the right angle. And from the sign, we see that cloud 9 is 3,000 feet. So that'll give us one of our sides. Okay, well, our angle of depression is 22 degrees. That'd be a good angle to use. There's a big problem, though. It's not in the triangle. You can't use an angle that's not in the triangle. So we need to get an angle inside the triangle. And the trick to this is to notice that the angle of depression right here from this horizontal line, it's going to be in the triangle if you recognize that this is a horizontal line down here also. And so we can use alternate interior angles and put that same angle of 22 degrees right here. And that'll give us an angle in the triangle that we can use for our angle of perspective. So we're right here at Pythagoras' feet. Our given side is over here at 3,000. This is our opposite. And the question, how far is Pythagoras from the ladder to cloud 9? That would be right here, our x. And notice that's our adjacent side. Let's set this up with a tangent ratio. We're going to take the tangent, of course, of the angle, which is 22, set that equal to our fraction, putting 3,000 as our opposite side over the x, which is what we want to know. All right, throw that over 1 and cross multiply. Here we go. 10x times the tangent of 22 is going to equal the 3,000 on the other direction. So we're going to divide by tangent of 22 degrees to find x. All right, let's punch it in. 3,000 divided by the tangent of 22. There's my tangent button. And I get, wow, that's a big number. 74,025. 74,025. Let's see, this was in feet down here. So this is 74,025 feet. You guys know how big that is? That's about 1.5 miles, I'm thinking. Poor Pythagoras, he's got a ways to walk. Ah, Sokoto is worth it. All right, have fun with these. Now, these are on your foldable, so make sure you go there and do this finding sides part.